help you with fly tying. Over 30 years ago, I penned this book called Jack Dennis's Western Trout Fly Tying Manual. It sold over 300,000 copies. I've introduced a lot of people to the world of fly tying. And now I'm going to introduce you a different way with a DVD. We started pioneering video for fly tying in 1986, and now in the world of DVD, it's much easier. After you take this fly tying lesson, and it'll be 12 flies that Cabela's and I have picked out. These are flies that you can take literally anywhere in the world and catch fish, especially trout. Now a friend of mine is going to come along and teach you about materials. Now you can jump ahead in this DVD and learn about some of the tools before you get started. Scott will introduce you to hooks. He'll introduce you to all the variety of materials you can use. Now you have some materials in front of you that's going to help you tie these flies. But let me warn you right now, because fly tying is a junky sport. You're going to want to have a lot of materials, and it's going to be so fun collecting. In fact, some of them you might collect yourself if you're a hunter, but most of the time you're going to stop in your local Cabela's or get their catalog to get materials. Now Cabela's searches all around the world for the best sources. You're going to see some great names like Umpqua, Wapsi, and others. But the most important thing is to get started with the basic techniques, and that's what I'm here to do. So let's get started in my fly tying den. For over 30 years I've tied right here in my home. Yet I've tied doing lectures in every continent except Antarctica, and I'm not going to Antarctica to teach fly tying, even to penguins. So let's get started. I'm going to put the book away, and you might want to get one of these books. It'll help you. It's got some great stories in it too, and some other flies that are not on these tapes. When I was younger, the first fly that we always learned to tie was a fly called the woolly worm. We know it now as the woolly bugger, kind of a modified woolly worm. We're going to tie that fly, but we're going to tie even a more basic fly. We're going to tie the Griffis Snat, which is no more than, believe it or not, a modification of the woolly worm or the gray hackle peacock. What does this fly imitate? It imitates midges. Midges are in every stream literally in America and hatch every month of the year. This is a universal fly that can catch fish literally anywhere. So let's get started. First of all, a vise. There are lots of vices. Scott's going to take you through the different types of vices. I have the cam style, which is the one, if you bought a Cabela's kit, it's the one you probably have. It's got a lever. It's going to clamp down on the hook. Now, one of the things that you need to know is that you have adjustments on this, and right here is adjustment, and almost all the vices have adjustments, and Scott's going to take you through how to adjust a vice. One very important tool that us older folks need is a pair of good glasses, and these happen to be a little bit powerful than the normal glasses, so I can see the hook a little better. And if you wear glasses, you're going to find you may want to go to the drugstore and buy these simple $10 magnifying glasses, and you'll find they work quite nicely. All right, now we're going to put this hook in, and you can see right now I'm coming at the bend of the hook. And now that's another thing too. We should just talk about a second. This is, of course, the eye right here, and this is the shank. And as I turn it up like this, that's the bend. As you can see right here, this is the point, and it's going into my fingernail. You can see the point. Now, if we look a little closer, we have a barb. And nowadays, many times we tie flies with hooks that do not have a barb, or we pinch them down because we practice a lot of catch and release. But we're going to put it in by the bend. And another thing that's going to happen in the materials section of this DVD is Todd's going to go through the different type of hooks, and he's going to take you through and teach you a little bit more about hooks. Right now, I am going to teach you the basic techniques. First of all, we've got it in the vise. It's parallel to the desk, as you can see. We kind of keep it at that angle, so you want to just kind of match what I'm doing right here. We need something to keep tension on thread. Thread is the key to tying any fly, and threads come in different sizes. As you can see right here, this is an 8/0. Notice right here where it says wax, that means it has a little wax on it. This is 8/0, and this is how many yards it's in it. This happens to be a thread called uni thread, and it's a black one. Now, though some of the threads will have a little bit different designations. Now, this one here says 70. That means it's a lighter thread. It might go up to 140 and 240. But most of the time, threads will be numbered like this, 8/0, 6/0, and that's the size. The higher the number, the smaller the thread. We're going to start off right now with some 6/0 thread, and we're going to lay it on the hook shank. Now, before we do this, let's just take a look at this little tool right here. This is a bobbin. Again, Scott is going to talk to you about bobbins and tell you a little bit about it. Now, this bobbin here has a ceramic insert. Yours may not. Eventually, as you get more advanced, you may want to get different tools. Like in anything, there's going to be different qualities of tools. And it doesn't hurt to get the best if you're really serious. If you're just learning just to become a better fly fisherman, you may want to be happy with just the tools that you have in your kit. But right now, we're going to start the very first fly tying technique. And I think this is kind of probably the easiest thing you're going to learn. And that's starting the thread on the hook. We're going to lay it right on the shank. And notice that I have the bobbin in my hand like this. Now I'm going to grip it like this right here. Let's move it up here. And I'm going to actually grip it with my hand. As you can look right here, this is my hand, and I'm going to grasp a hold of it. And I can add tension by pulling on it. See, if I don't want it to move, I can just grip it. Now, what I'm going to do is this very first starting technique, we're going to go halfway down the shank. Now, we're dividing the shank, and this is really important to understand. This is the eye. This is where it starts to bend right here. This is what we call the shank. So we're going to divide that in half and start our thread. And this will become more important as we get into more advanced flies. Now, what I'm going to do is hold with my left hand if you're right-handed, and obviously if you're left-handed, just take this to a mirror and reverse it, and then you'll be the same way if it's left-handed. So we're going to add this right on top of the shank and then wrap back towards the bend. And what we're doing is a whip knot, is what it's called. And we'll just wrap. Notice we got the thread up right here, and we're wrapping towards the bend of the hook. Now, one of the first things you're going to do, hear that little ping, ping, ping? That's the point. And every fly tyer that ever started has done this number. Hit that point and done that. It'll happen. It just takes a little practice. It'll be a little frustrating, and you're going to have to load your bobbin. And it usually can happen on some times when it's most inconvenient, like when you're wrapping some hair on. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over, and I'm going to show you a little technique about loading your bobbin. Now, you can get tools to do this that can actually go into the bobbin and pull it through. And we have those, but I'm going to show you a tool that you have right in your mouth, and that's a tongue. And that will create suction. Now, what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to take and put it right back in the little tube right here. And I just sucked it right through, just like that. You don't want to have too much thread out. You might suck it too far in. But I know it's not very sanitary, but you're probably the only one using your tools. And we're going to start and go back. Now, so we're going to back to that point where where the point is. And notice how I'm taking the thread and kind of going at an angle. You'll learn this to just kind of bypass that point. Now, if you can see right here, we're at the shank, into the shank where it starts to go to the bend, and you can see that barb there. And most of the time you'll be tying with barbed hooks, and to get them barbless, you can just take a little pair of needle holders and clamp that down, or a lot of people will file them down right now. Now we're going to take that thread and we're going to cut it. And you might notice that I'm using a dark brown thread. There's black thread. There's all kinds of colors of threads. And depending on the fly, you'll pick the colors of thread. But